Hey guys, Lou from Country Club Comics here with another weekly comic book spotlight. Stay tuned. So just to be clear, the comic book spotlight of the week is meant to bring sort of obscure books or seldom talked about books to light. I think we have a real doozy this week. It's one of my favorites. I got it when I was a kid. My father brought them home with a bunch of books that he'd gotten from somebody. In the middle of like 15 and 12 cent Avengers and Spider-Mans, there was this book. And I loved it. And I'm not sure it would stand the test of time in terms of political correctness, or at least not political correctness, social correctness today. But this book is a mixture of fat-shaming parents, ridiculous superpowers, a monster that lies, we'll get to that in a second, and a skinny Billy Batson-looking boy who becomes a very unusual superhero. And you get what? You get Fatman, the Human Flying Saucer, published by Lightning Comics in 1967. Yes, the Human Flying Saucer. His name is Van Crawford, and he lives a very lazy, slothful lifestyle. Now, this book is written by C.C. Beck and Otto Binder. You'll know C.C. Beck from the old Shazam, old Captain Marvel comics. That was his creation. But you'll see the style throughout. It's absolutely there. But really kind of cool. So let's get to the origin. How did Fatman become Fatman? Because this is a guy that secretly fights crime while he lives in a mansion with his parents. And this is his origin story. So after perpetually being fat-shamed by his parents, not that he cared, Van didn't care, which is kind of a superpower in itself. He goes out for a bird-walking trek and sees a flying saucer overhead, and it seemingly crashes into Earth. He races to the site to find an alien crouched down where the saucer should be. The alien goes on to say how he searched for an individual to bestow powers upon for the purpose of fighting evildoers. This is very Green Lantern-like, as well as, for some of you who remember, Greatest American Hero, where he gets his powers from an alien from a spaceship. Kind of a really cool show, underrated show, not talked about enough. So he makes Van. He makes Van drink this chocolate mixture. Again, feeding into the fat man thing. And now Val is now a superhero. He soon learns he has the ability to transform himself into a flying saucer. Now look, there are a lot of superpowers out there. Where have you ever heard of a superhero turning himself into a flying saucer? Maybe with the Wonder Twins. I don't even think they ever did that. But this is his primary superpower. He can turn himself into a flying saucer. But there are other powers too. So as a saucer, he's able to move at about 5,000 miles per hour. That's pretty fast, okay? And he can switch on a dime. He can change direction very quickly. He can shoot laser beams to destroy missiles in the air. Now, this was in the 60s, so this really wasn't in the Cold War where there was that fear. Okay, so it looks kind of cool. He can pick up radio transmissions. Okay, what are you going to do? Listen to, I don't know, PLJ? Is PLJ still around in New York? I have no idea. He has super bouncy strength, very similar to the Blob in X-Men, or Bouncing Boy in Legion of Superheroes. And he has one of the greatest costumes you're ever going to see. It's very outlandish. It's extremely unflattering to him, but it's pretty cool. So not only does this comic mark the first appearance of our titular hero, I love that word, titular, but also the first appearance of the dreaded, fearsome, Anti-Man. Yes, Anti-Man. Here's a picture. Very cool looking sea monster who, for some reason, speaks fluent English And he goes on to tell Fatman how people destroyed his species and that he's out for vengeance. He will destroy mankind. So obviously, Fatman now has his first villain, and he has to fight him. But to do this, he enlists the aid of yet another superhero making his first appearance in this book, and that is in the form of teenager Lucius Tyndall, who looks surprisingly like Billy Batson. No surprise there because, again, these are all drawn by C.C. Beck. And he becomes the charmed hero of Tin Man. Here's a couple of pictures, or here's one picture. Now, since these are written sort of on an Archie comics level of writing, it's not really important to go over the story. Suffice it to say, it's a very happy ending and no one dies. And when I said before that the monster lies, he does lie because his wife actually comes out of the ocean and grabs him and says, "Have you been telling that lie again about mankind?" and takes him back after they all decided to work together. So it was a very child-friendly, like I said, Archie-like book. Very cool. The art is very childish, but still detailed enough where you kind of get engaged from panel to panel. So I read the entire book. I did not read the entire book as a kid, and I made this mistake when I did my video on famous first editions. And one of the comments reminded me of this. I never read the entire story as a kid in those famous first editions. What I would do as a kid is basically read read the speech bubbles, the thought bubbles, and then move to the next panel. Many times I completely ignored the narration that was also in the boxes, and I kind of missed out on a lot. So I went through this book, which I had read as a kid, again, panel to panel, and I read everything in this book. It was kind of an enjoyable read, I gotta say. But again, it's Archie-like. So you get the whole idea of the story when you read, everything in the narration boxes. This book is a mini treasure. It has some great old ads. I mean, look at this ad. And by the way, did anyone ever actually own this submarine? Because I would love to know what it was all about. Was it just a piece of cardboard you stood behind? Was it something inflatable? I have no idea. This always looked like the most amazing thing in the world to me. And for the price, I don't even know what it was, $5, $6, whatever it was, you get a submarine. And I'm thinking back then, this couldn't be too cheap. Of course it was cheap, but it couldn't be too cheap because they did put a lot of work into those toys that were in the ads. But it also has a joke page. Very highbrow humor. One of the jokes was, or one of the statements, when Whistler saw his mother on her hands and knees, he yelled, "Good heavens, mother, are you off your rocker?" What kid is going to get that joke? Of course, it's in reference to the Whistler, famous Whistler painting of Lady in Chair or whatever. I forget what it was. I'll put a picture of it here. But what kid is going to get that joke? Nobody. So this is very highbrow humor. But there was a page of this also put in. Why? I don't know. It was just put there. Also had a great centerfold pinup of Fatman. Now say what you will about the costume, about the body shape. This pinup was pretty cool. So this comic really had everything. Now what does it go for? Is it valuable? Well, there are 32 CGC graded with only one in a 9.8. It is a square-bound book, very hard to get in high grade. The thing is, the last sale of that 9.8 was 20 years ago. And it sold for $650 then. I'm guessing this has got, obviously it's got to be in the thousands now. The question is, how much in the thousands? It is a really cool book. Now, depending on condition, you can get a Fatman one from $15 to over $100 in near mint. I think these are incredibly reasonable prices for this book, and I would love to get a high-graded copy of this book. And if you're a completist, good news. There are only 3 issues in the series. And they all share that amazing C.C. Beck artwork and those outrageous characters. Here are a few other main characters of issue 2. Fun stuff, great artwork, a vintage treasure. Let me know if you've come across this book or you heard of this book or this is something new for you. And it's kind of a cool book. I am still looking for number 2. So I have 1 and 3. And I don't know why I didn't buy number 2 before this video. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's this week's comic book spotlight. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave some comments. Let me know if you liked it, if you enjoyed this book, if you have this book, if you want to get this book now. Let me know, and I'll see you in the next video. See you.